Disclaimer: everything discussed in this stream is alleged. Everything is based on our opinions. Please do your own research.
Hello, hello.
Hello, hello.
I couldn't hear you the whole time we were backstage. That was disrespectful.
Yeah, no, you can't hear backstage, my dear.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Never mind. You're right. Okay, never mind. Well, I know I didn't scare off Babylon Beaver then because she didn't hear a fucking thing I said. Well, that's all right. You know what? It's going to be one of these streams. How are you doing, though?
I'm okay.
You're doing good?
Yeah, I'm still sick, but I'm on the mend. Been taking like oil of oregano and doing
good. Well, I'm glad. I need you to feel better.
Yeah. No, I'm okay. I'm ready. I'm ready to be here.
No, yeah. You haven't eaten any ostrich rings?
No, I had chicken noodle soup.
You haven't eaten any ostrich eggs or anything to make you superhuman?
No ostriches, no human, no coyote,
well,
as far as I know.
Well, that's good. So it's been a real disappointing day. I got to be honest with you.
It's been stressful. Yeah.
Well, it's just like every minute there's just been more and more and more. It's too much. I've just got to turn off Telegram somehow because I think it's draining my thing. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
Telegram.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not running in the background. I don't know. I keep freezing. That's all.
Yeah, and there's a frost warning tonight here, so I have to go out and cover all my stuff that isn't already covered, so it doesn't all die because I planted on May long. So that's what's going on in my world. Okay.
Oh, okay. I don't know what's happening. I'm freezing. You're freezing. Fuck. It's gonna be one of these streams, Holly.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be one of these streams. I think it's partially because of what we were talking about.
Oh, this is great.
You're okay.
I'm gonna come back. What I'm gonna do, Holly, is I'm gonna leave and come back. Okay?
Yeah. You leave, come
back.
Everybody,
we're having tech issues. We'll be right back.
We'll introduce
Holly,
our guest. I'll keep talking. All right, I just want to say hi to Freedom Canada. Nice to see you here. And me so salty, me hate long time. I guess Lucas Gage banned you about an hour ago. So yeah, it's difficult to have different views from the main group. So I think that's one of the things that we've been dealing with as well, because in the beginning we had different views from what the main group was talking about, and that's what got us excommunicated from the cult, because we dared to question the narrative. Now this thing comes along again, which Rocky and I were talking about, how we got suckered into. Like, we actually did believe everything that was going on was just innocent little birds, and it was it was these poor things were going to get killed, and it was my impression that these were pets or
farm animals for breeding.
Yeah, and like, I look at my animals, right, that I have in my yard, they're pets essentially, and I see a pet.
Yeah. No, like I was thinking, like, even like the sheep farm I was at, that wouldn't have been okay. Like, you know what I mean? They were, yes, they were, agriculture, but they weren't. I don't know. That wasn't the thing. The whole thing's been disappointing. But I do have to say that we've had some amazing information from a fellow, David Dickson, on Twitter, and all of the links for our guests are in the descriptions on the Rumble stream, or if you're on Facebook, wherever it's at, so you can connect with them, read their information, because David's been very, very diligent gathering information and exposing this. And a lot of people have wanted to push back against it, which has been unfair because all he's done is ask questions. They might not like the answers to the questions, but silencing him and, you know, saying, oh, you're creating drama, which is what the big thing I've been reading is like, we need unity.
We need unity. We can't fight against each other.
Yeah, no, that's bullshit. Actually, you know what? We need information. Actually, is what we need, and it's so reminiscent of the way it was during COVID for me.
Yeah.
How dare you ask questions? I literally feel like the freedom groups are saying to trust the science right now. I swear to you, that's what it feels like.
Legit.
You're not a scientist. You don't know.
Going through the different Facebook posts, right, or the Twitter posts where people are like, hey, what about blah? And people are like, oh, you got to trust the science. They were doing science. And I'm like, that sounds like 5 years ago when we were just like, hey, I think this has been around since December and people have been sick with it already. And we haven't had these massive deaths. It's like, oh, no. It got here in March 2020. There's no possible. You got to trust the science. And then I think of Fauci, right, with his beagles.
Yes.
Trusting the science.
Oh God. And when you hear about like, see, I can't deal with that. And I'm not okay with them. I'm not okay with that. Why am I going to save your animals? Oh, and by the way, donate to us. Like, what the fuck, guys? Everyone's broke. Everybody is broke.
Yeah.
We are all struggling. How dare you ask for donations to cover your legal costs when you haven't even been transparent about what the use of the ostriches are? It's disgusting, in my opinion.
For years.
Yeah.
So do you want to bring our guest
David on? Yeah, I don't think is Canuck. She's not here right now. Her website went down literally right as we were about to start. So she was trying to fix it.
Went down?
Yeah, it was just, she said glitchy and some problems. So I think is fixing that. She'll be back. But let's bring on David Dickson.
Okay, I'm just gonna see here because he did say that he was doing something.
Never mind. We won't bring him on yet. We'll just keep talking. Actually, no, I have a video I wanted to show.
Yes.
It's about psyops. I found this. It was on Twitter or TikTok, and I was like, oh my God. Oh my goodness. Timing couldn't be better. So when you're watching this, I want you to think about the ostrich farm and think about how many out of these 10 suggestions, how many fit the ostrich farm?
Is to teach your brain to recognize logical fallacies. So let's go through these, because psyops very often use these flawed arguments to convince people. And if you know how to spot them, it makes you a lot harder to manipulate. Let me give you 10 of these so that your brain gets hardwired to start seeing everything a whole lot differently. So the first one that you're going to see all the time, appeal to emotion. So this uses fear and anger and hope to bypass logic. So like, if you don't support this, children are going to suffer. Next is the straw man argument. This misrepresents somebody's argument so they can attack it better. So somebody might say they oppose the lockdowns because they don't care about lives. Think about that one. Number 3 is the bandwagon fallacy. So this claims that something is true because everyone supports it. And you hear this all the time. Millions of people agree with X, Y, and Z. You should agree with it too. Number 4 is the false dilemma. This presents only 2 extreme options and it ignores alternatives. So it's the either you're with us or you're against us fallacy there. Number 5 is the ad hominem attacks. This is the attack of the person and not the argument. Be very observant for this. So this is when you hear you can't trust her. She's not a scientist. You can't do X because they're not qualified based on X. Ad hominem is very common and I want your brain to be able to spot it. Number 6 is appeal to authority. And this is a claim that something is true because an authority figure said so. So like Dr. X supports it, so it's absolutely right. You have to trust the science. Number 7 is the slippery slope. These are claims that one action is going to lead to some extreme negative outcome. So you've heard this before. Somebody says something like, if we allow this, we're going to lose all of our freedoms. All of our freedoms are gone. The country is gone. All of that kind of talk like that. Be very attuned to when you hear that and very cautious when you hear that. Number 8. Hasty generalizations. And these are broad claims that are made with very little evidence. So the example is, 2 politicians lied, so all of them must be corrupt. So giant claim, tiny bit of evidence. 2 politicians might have lied, so they're all corrupt. Number 9 is huge. It's the red herring. So this distracts people with irrelevant information. You've heard this maybe as an example when somebody says, why are we worrying about climate change when we have so much crime going on right now? It's an argument of distraction. Number 10 is false equivalence. This compares 2 things as equals when they're absolutely not equal. So you'll hear somebody say something in the news that's both sides have extremists, so they're exactly the same. That's a very damaging one. I know there's a lot of information here, so I want to give you access to the actual tool that we use to identify psyops that even rates the likelihood on a 1 to 100 scale. And I'm going to add that into the description right below this video. But keep this in mind. Throughout history, the people who stood tallest in the storm were not the ones who knew all the answers. They were the ones who asked the right questions. They weren't the loudest voices. They were the calmest. They were the people that had composure. Thanks for spending some time with me. One love.
I thought it was really good. I thought it was really good timing, considering number 1, emotion.
Yeah, I think the only fallacy that he's missing in that, sorry, my dogs are going crazy. The only fallacy that's missing in his description there is the sunk cost fallacy. So you spend a lot of time supporting something, and you spend a lot of time and a lot of energy and a lot of effort going after something, spending $500 in gas to get out there, and you realize you've been duped. You have you have to keep going because you've already sunk a lot of time and effort and money into this.
Yeah. So I do really quick before we bring Dave and them on, I do want to say I'm very sorry to everybody that I totally pressured 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, I just believed it because why would this is insane in my brain. It's like, why would you lie about something like this? Or why would you manipulate? I couldn't, that never even crossed my mind. And I got really emotional about it. And I am so sorry to the people. I was like, you should definitely go. I'm really glad that I don't think any of you went, but I am sorry.
Yeah, both of us offer a huge apology because this is something that appealed to us emotionally. Because
and Buck, I'm sorry.
And Buck,
I didn't listen when you. Yeah, he told me it was a psyop. I'm like, that's stupid.
All right, so without further ado, let's bring on our guests. They're waiting for us very patiently.
Okay, so excited. All right, you do that part.
I will do that part.
Okay.
Okay. Welcome.
Hello, David.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Good.
Good. I feel like we've been talking all day long. Your brain must be ready to explode with all the stuff that you've been picking up on.
Well, that and everything else I'm dealing with right now in the care homes.
Yes.
Because obviously, there are no bouncy castles or convoys for people in care homes that are still being locked down. They're still being isolated. They're still being tested. They're still being masked. They're still being mass vaccinated. Same with children here in Alberta. 74% of infants under the age of 1 have been COVID shot. Almost all of them under Danielle Smith, the freedom hero.
Yeah.
But let's talk about ostriches because
Well, it's okay, but
no, but that's my point is let's talk about ostriches because we need to support the people who were profiting from the COVID narrative with glowing.
I know.
Like seriously, I mean, I sent you some of those pictures. Like, is the freedom movement going to start wearing glowing COVID masks now? And taking COVID nasal sprays. Can we get a T-shirt?
Believe in the virus now. Believe in the fact that it's
trust
actually
the sirens
as bad.
Yeah, it's like it is. This is. I've as part of being a police officer and as Doc Jen is trying to say, oh, we've caught him. He's a Microsoft partner. He works for Microsoft.
What?
No, I'm part of the Microsoft partnership program that gets me cheap licenses so I can work as a consultant for other companies who use Microsoft. I have actually been out. I got invited out to Microsoft in 2017 to lecture on privacy and social engineering. I actually advised the chief of security on social engineering. I actually went there to find out what they were up to. I took him out for drinks, or rather, he took me out for drinks. He's an ex-army guy. I'm an ex-police officer. He got drunk and he told me a lot of stuff he shouldn't have done. So it was a good trip. Anybody who says, "Oh, look what we found on Dave," well, go look at the court filing when I was fighting for healthcare
Dave,
workers.
you don't have to worry about that here.
No. But all of these nut jobs that are currently trying to find ways to, it's like,
discredit you. Yeah.
that's my question. Like, I said to what I said, but what you missed was, I was also a police officer. I worked for the security services. I worked for the Justice Department. Make sure you get all that, because
Yes.
if you're going to paint me as a bad guy, make sure you get it all right. I don't want you missing anything. Anyway, ostriches.
Don't worry about that here. Everybody here is. I mean, I've been discredited up to yin yang. So has Alex. Alex,
Yeah.
I should invite Alex on and say hello to her. Is she muted herself though?
Yeah, she's muted, so I'm not sure if she's ready to talk yet. But yeah,
Right, Alex, unmute yourself when you're ready.
we
Have you?
As you said, that now feels like it did during COVID.
yes.
The attacks.
Yeah.
I've never experienced as many attacks in the last 3 days as I have since 2022, when the convoy
Right.
was going. That was the last time I saw this level of attacks, and it's like, you're onto something. And the reality is, I never wanted to be part of this story. It was only I was sitting in bed 3 days ago, and my wife had pushed my button one too many times. Ironically, the farm is David and Karen, and I'm David and Karen. We are
Yeah,
not
that
related.
is hilarious, actually.
And I went, okay, I'm done. I know this is a psyop. I know there's something off with this. I don't want to be involved in it. It's just, and then so I started looking, and once I saw the connection to COVID, it was like, okay, I need to expose this now, because they are part of the problem. They always were. And the fact that we've got the freedom movement supporting
Pushing it
this,
and backing
and
it.
it's like, their latest press release is gold. It's like they're
Is it okay?
admitting-
So I did send. I read it, but I didn't. There was nothing that jumped out to me as like shocking. I sent it to David. He laughed and said it was like something from Wuhan.
Yeah,
He would expect from Wuhan.
So similar to the court, I mean, they've reiterated some stuff that's in the court stuff, and some of the stuff that both Alex and I have pulled out. I mean, Alex has done a lot more work on the court file than I did, but I did basically some digging on anything that's public information, where they've made statements in the past, what they've been involved in, and all the press release says, please be nice to us. Can't we all work together?
Yeah,
we're experimenting with COVID and making millions on it. And we're really upset because we're not going to continue making millions, because the bad government's going to come in and kill our cash cow, our golden egg, that we've been basically profiting. I mean, like, if this was now 2021, the police would have to surround that place to stop the freedom fighters burning it to the ground. And now it's the other way around.
It's shocking.
The psychology of the micro push and social engineering that has made this possible is terrifying. But
I fell for it. I did. I fell for it right away. I was like, oh, the poor birds.
And it takes that psychology, that easy, that pressure point. And then once you've bought into it, as you say, you've got your sunk costs. You can't step away. You have to keep doubling down and doubling down and doubling down. You won't admit you were wrong because you can't. And it's like, oh, the poor animals. And there's always in the back of your mind that, I mean, this is the perfect hook one, because no matter what you believe and no matter what you think, nobody wants these birds to be mass slaughtered.
No.
At all. Nobody wants that. But nobody's asking the real question. I mean, at the end of the day, if suddenly the government of BC says, we've tested these birds and they've got this new magic strain of COVID, everybody who's been near them is now in full quarantine, and you are now going to be moved to camps, what would they do? Would they
Well,
go?
they've got the whole freedom community.
They would turn on that farm then and say, "What did you do to us?" Like, I mean, it's why are we not? In fact, as I said, we don't need to ask the question anymore. They have confirmed that they got what they call, whatever that is, the synthetic COVID spike protein from a biopharma company that was working on a $13 million contract for the Canadian government to inject in an open-air, uncontrolled farm into ostriches that had never been done before in history. Talk about zoonotic viruses and jumping species. Doing that using staff that used to be selling meat. So really highly trained bioworkers in a completely secure environment on a bird migration path with a 100% manufactured pathogen that, don't worry, it's safe. How do we know it's safe? How do we know? You know what? I know COVID's not deadly, because if it was, everybody in the care home would have been dead in January of 2020.
Right.
I've checked, I've run the data, and I've been running it for 5.5 years. But I have no idea what this government-sponsored, manufactured synthetic spike protein is. That is the exact same thing that's in the Novavax vaccine. If they are in such favor of using this synthetic, government-sponsored, synthetic spike protein for COVID and injecting it to save humanity, so that it can be put in masks that are part of a deal that some Japanese scientist is working with the World Economic Forum. I'm assuming they've all got their Novavax shots then, if they're in such fans of synthetic spike proteins.
So that's
100%.
That's my first question for this. So it was in 2020 when it's on their website when they first started doing this kind of research, because before they were doing cosmetics and meat and egg sales, but then they got
and breeding stock. They've provided 80% of the breeding stock throughout Canada.
So where did they get, like, where's the contract? Where did they get the injectable to start down this process?
They say in the latest press release they got that. They call it an antigen because people don't understand that an antigen is a virus. It's a part of a spike. In a coronavirus, it's part of the spike protein. It's the thing that's in that is in AstraZeneca. It's in the thing that's in Novavax, and it is the pathogen that they say they got from this company out in Quebec, who'd got a $13 million contract from the Canadian government, but they don't say where they got it from. The Canadian government gave them the money, and the Canadian government on their website was sponsoring and providing synthetic material for specifically for experimentation with COVID to come up with new fangled ideas. So you can say what they want. They would effectively, even if they can say, well, we went directly in partnership with the Canadian government on COVID experimentation, they effectively were, because that's where the money was coming from. That's where the spike stuff was coming from. And the only person that I've seen that has said he's created some synthetic spike protein outside of Big Pharma is this Japanese scientist who injected himself with it.
Cool.
Oh, well, at least he tried it. At least he did it on himself first. I mean, whatever.
And that's just the one virus.
Right.
That was
that's
the one
what I mean.
that was,
we don't know what else
that was the
they've
big commercial jump in 2020 was when everybody else was fighting for their lives, they were looking for business opportunities.
Yes.
That's it. I mean, and you took a business opportunity that furthered the COVID narrative, and of all things, the end product was nasal sprays, aerosolized COVID, and masks.
Disgusting.
Like at the beginning of 2020, the anti-mask movement was at its height, because once we moved into 2021, people moved on to. Well,
sorry, Alex.
How many people lost their jobs because of the mask mandates. I was actually locked out of the care home where I'm supposed to be to look after my mother-in-law for 1,193 days because I can't wear a mask, even if I believed in them, which I don't. If you watch my Costco video with the angry Albertan, you'll see exactly what I think of masks. But I couldn't wear one anyway if I wanted to. I've got pulmonary fibrosis. What killed Sheila Annette Lewis. I can't wear one. So it's a bit of a trigger for me when I find somebody who's pushing masks.
Yeah,
and this
I
farm
couldn't do it either.
isn't just pushing masks. COVID antibody infused masks. People say, where's the science? Where's the studies? Where's all the work to prove this is safe and effective for these infused masks?
Yeah, there's who knows. I do want to quickly, Alex, are you back?
We have to introduce Alex.
I do. I just don't want people to just, because I did say, and she's come and gone, but I don't know. Alex is with Canuck Law to everybody. I mean, even if she's not here, I just want to introduce her. She's with Canuck Law. She's the one who comes on and does a lot of, she's back. She does a lot of,
can you hear me?
Yes. I would say legal, legal translation for some of the people like myself who do not understand the legalese.
I just try to make things simpler to understand.
I love it. And I still don't understand half of it. But that's why we love to have Alex on, because she just breaks it down. So, and David, if people are checking out his Twitter, you should see who was that you had a podcast with the other day where you got into it about the ostrich farms?
Lion Advocacy.
Lion Advocacy.
Viva Frey's brother. Everybody probably knows Viva Frey. He's Viva Frey's brother. Viva Frey and Daniel are both lawyers. Part of the freedom movement. Well, you can take from what you saw of that video. It's exactly what I expect. It's exactly how I expected it to go.
It's fine. I think what I find fascinating about this whole thing. Sorry, Alex, I do want to hear from you 1 second. Is the list of names. Like at this point, I've got a specific list of names of people who repeatedly show up into whatever event or whatever freedom bullshit things going on. The same ones pushing, promoting, and unfortunately now they're on my list. And that's the blacklist. It's not a good list. It's now I just take everything you say and I'm like, okay, most likely it's bullshit. Or there's some agenda behind it. And I just cannot be spending 24 hours a day trying to figure out what is true and what is not. It makes me crazy. So Alex, how are you doing? What did you find out today? Did you find out anything exciting that you wanted to share?
Just going through the court papers that I got from the federal court a few days ago. I don't think anyone actually read them before they started championing for this ostrich farm.
No, of course not.
Probably the most ridiculous thing in there is like, based on, I think it was at rabbits, we can get 1.5 milligrams of antibodies. We figure it's worth $6,000 each. So if you correlate that, we think we can get 12 milligrams for an ostrich egg. It's worth about 48 grand. So
that's crazy.
So we have 400 ostriches, give or take, $48,000 an egg. So everyone lays an egg, you're looking at like $19.2 million. So hypothetically, it's not an exaggeration to say that this is could be $1 billion industry. And you guys
she was asking for donations today. That Christy lady in her video that she did to give everyone an update, she said, how can you help? You can donate, you can show up. How dare they? People are struggling. $48,000 an egg.
Yeah,
$48,000 an egg and $93,000 per hen.
Yep. And they lay once every 48 hours or so.
Yeah, for several months.
What? How many hours?
Every 48
every 2 days.
hours.
No. See, I thought it was maybe one egg a year or something, the way it was so... Are you kidding me?
They do it for a certain amount of time because they lay a clutch. So it's not like chickens where they lay all year round except for wintertime. An ostrich will lay a clutch of eggs, but they'll lay an egg every 48 to 50 hours until they've laid their clutch, which could be anywhere from 10 to 15 eggs, times 400 hens.
Oh, yes, Alex, we can hear you. Sorry.
So just to be clear, It's only the hens. I don't know
Okay.
how many hens versus males they've got. They've never disclosed that.
Right.
Yeah, that's interesting.
We know
eh?
that at least 6 of them were sold after they started injecting.
Yes.
And again, confirmed in their press release. But they said they didn't inject those hens,
Oh, of course.
But
but
they've
they
been
were part.
exposed.
They were part of the pen.
They were exposed. Oh.
Yeah, and also they said, oh, and they weren't being used for meat because they're too valuable to be used for meat, but they were laying eggs
Why
with
were they
the
too valuable?
antibodies in them.
Yeah, that's
and,
just yeah.
And where were you getting the ostrich oil from, which is extracted from the meat, not live ostriches? Like, and according to the court filings, they were still selling oil and other products from the ostriches they had as late as in the filing as late as December 2024 from that farm. There are people that have come on board and shown photographs of their meat and jerky being sold in local stores in 2021 and 22.
So okay, and the dog food thing. They do have a dog food business. This farm has apparently got a side business that is dog food. Is this true?
I think it's his daughter's is the dog food business, the Bizarre Pets.
Okay, but it's not ostriches.
That website, no, it's all ostrich product, ostrich oil, ostrich meat, all. But that, so the website went down, I think 22, 23, somewhere around there. The Instagram site and Facebook pages for that business are still running now.
All right, Alex, I'm sorry I interrupted you. Please continue. You shocked me with the numbers.
Yeah, like people, and I think there's GiveSend goes up to like 31,000. Their GoFundMe is 59, something along those lines. So they raised 90,000 plus. They've also, hey, here's where you can mail in your checks. Here's where you can do e-transfers. It's not an exaggeration to say they're probably well over 100 grand already.
I thought I saw they were on their website.
I've been able to track. I mean, some of them may be duplicates, but I've been able to track through the websites where they're taking transactions about $250,000 up to now.
Okay, I need
and
to take another look at it.
Rick Wilson did was it Rick Maverick? He was talking those sorts of numbers with what he was tracking.
That's disgusting. Dude, and they've got all these people rallying to save them. They're going to become dog food if they're not going to become a biohazard to everybody that's up there.
But don't worry. The bouncy castles apparently arrived a couple of hours ago.
Are you serious?
Are you kidding?
Yeah. Yeah, Rebel News posted about it. The bouncy castles have arrived. Now, just like the convoy, what is the purpose of the bouncy castles at what is potentially a high-risk environment? Forget about the pathogens, just the police, CFIA, and all the other involvement. This is what I would call, as a police officer, a very high-risk environment that is likely to break out into violence.
Because
no matter whether they want it to or not, there is a high risk that that's going to happen. The last thing you want to do is set things in place that encourages children to be there. So what do? Just like in the convoy, bring the bouncy castles. The bouncy castles are not there for the adults.
No, it's for
They're there to encourage children to be there, which from my view as a security expert and retired police officer, that is basically bringing children in as human shields, because you're expecting that everybody will stand down. But the reality is, when these things kick off, it's like somebody shouting fire. Everybody panics and people get hurt. And you do not bring children to that. And there's no reason for them to do that other than to actually use them, just like they've used the animals themselves as pulling the heartstrings. Next thing we'll be seeing lots of pictures of happy screaming children running around with ice creams and bouncing on the bouncy castles.
Well,
again, part of the style.
I did say to Holly, I think it was Holly. I was like, this doesn't end without violence, because I said, like, if it was me and it was, let's say, just legit, we're imagining a petting zoo, okay, whatever, and the government's going to come in, they're just going to start shooting the animals, and I've gone up there to protest. I'm not just going to be like, oh, okay, well, I guess I tried and walk away. We're gonna hold on. We're not going to let go. The only way this ends is violent. Like I don't foresee anything else.
This is not like the convoy where they were just escorted from the premises, where the police just came in and said, "Get back in your truck and drive away." No. These people have been amped up now to a point that they are attached to these raptor chickens. I mean, these things are dinosaurs. They are. Anybody thinks a Canadian goose is violent doesn't want to spend any time anywhere near one of these things.
Ostriches are not nice. I mean, they're cute and they do their little dance and everything, right? But
Politicians can be cute as well. They're not nice.
Alligators can be cute, but
All right,
don't hang around on the water's edge. So, Alex, back to you.
sorry, Alex.
Okay. Sorry. Sorry, I lost my train of thought for a sec. Where was I?
I don't know. I don't blame you. We totally take everything you say and run with it. You were
The
talking
numbers,
about
the actual numbers, how much they've been.
Yeah, the dollars
donations
per
are
egg.
up to.
yes. Alex, can you hear us?
Internet issues.
Oh, internet issues.
Okay.
I have a question. So
You're Alex.
there was comments like when I was fully invested and I was crying about the ostriches. There was an incident where one of the ostriches actually was shot in the head.
2 months ago, right?
Yeah, it was about 2 months ago. It was when the announcement was first made, and then of course the court proceedings started. The ostriches were safe, and everyone was crying because it was happy that one of the ostriches actually was shot. Now, what happened with that? Because that way, I think it was something that was used to amp up the situation, that it was literally the government hiding in the bushes with sniper rifles, taking
Yeah, no, I
out
think that was just probably a crazy person.
well, and that was like now, fast forward to where we are now and what we know. Is there any word on what happened with that one ostrich that was killed?
I haven't heard anything, and I know from like how the government would run an operation like this, even how the security services would run an operation as a false flag event. It's not how they would do this, because it wouldn't have the effect at the right time. It is more like if it's happened, it's more likely either it was euthanized by somebody at the farm, or got some rogue hunter wandering around, or maybe a crazy person. I mean, at the end of the day, they're in the middle of the wilderness in BC. There will be
And their
hunters.
neighbors aren't happy with them. So, I mean, it could
Yeah,
been anybody.
I mean, there could have been any. I mean, and again, this is the situation: is if that's already happened, why are you taking children there?
Yeah, I'm not.
If
Well,
somebody
that's
fired
the
a
thing.
fire up,
You have people in the woods that with a rifle and a scope can hit the head of an ostrich, which is, not very big. Why are you bringing your children? Why are you putting yourself into range? Like, to me, it sounds like an extremely volatile, very scary situation.
Alex, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, you got 3 minutes. We will not interrupt you. I promise.
Sorry.
Okay.
I've been wondering myself, like, okay, if you're gonna have your protests and essentially just more or less convoy 2.0 with your bouncy castles and your congas and whatever and whatnot, it's assuming like, okay, we're doing testing for so-called viruses. Like, what else are these? Like, what else have these ostriches been infected with? What else? Are other animals? Like, would you let your presumably young children go play at, I don't know, a hospital? No, you say, keep away.
In the infectious fucking disease unit?
Yeah.
Like I realize that the farm got a lot of backlash the last few days because, Dave and I are publishing all this stuff. But it's like, I'm trying to think to myself, what exactly did they anticipate would happen? That nobody at all would search anything?
Yes, I think that is what they expected. I do.
I think so. I think that they thought no one would look into it and everyone would just watch the videos of them crying, see the videos of the cute ostriches, watch the daily updates, celebrate the fact that the dump's not going to take them now. They didn't think that people were going to actually take their head out of the sand and look into it.
Oh, I
And
look at that
They-
pellet guy.
the thing is that nobody has.
True.
No, you two have, thank God.
No,
And Buck,
but they've gone 4 to 5 months. In fact, they've gone since last year. The court battle and everything else. They have gone for a long time without anybody asking questions. So why
That's
wouldn't
true.
they?
yeah. What were you going to say, Alex?
Well, that Pellich guy, Stephen Pellich, who's supposedly their expert who did the affidavit, you do a quick search on him, or even just read his affidavit. Kinetics, I think, is one of the 2 companies he founds. So he has actual direct financial interest in producing antibodies, antigen testing, and a few other things. Like, he's not some neutral third-party expert observer. No, this directly benefits his business because it essentially helps grow his industry. Like, he directly profits from this.
This is I'm so sick of it, and I'm so sick of being manipulated.
And what was the other one? Belinsky, I think. I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name. The other one who put in his affidavit.
Dave Belinsky's the other co-owner,
right,
with Karen.
And his affidavit, they wanted to do essentially like DNA fingerprinting of certain genomes and whatnot. It's like, okay, for what purpose though?
So he actually set up a DNA fingerprint database with a professor called Church out of the government of Alberta, who was basically one of the leading experts on GMO birds, basically genetically engineering and genetically breeding animals to create the superior race. I mean, in the animal world, this is, Mengele sort of stuff. This is like, so they were trying to create the perfect bird, so that, if you think that Dave Belinsky's got a background in genetics, he partnered in the business, which there's some questions about that first business and who sold them these ostriches when Karen joined them, because Karen was actually working at that first business. I mean, sadly, Professor Church is no longer around because he died in September 2019. An awful lot of important people died just before COVID.
Yeah, very.
We'd like to ask questions of.
It's true. So what about him were you saying, Alex, about Belinsky?
Yeah, I read through some of his stuff as well. And he makes it clear, these, like, we're not harvesting these ostriches for meat. Like, this whole, let's protect the food supply is all a giant red herring. He realizes the potential for these eggs for, to use them as specimens to be harvested and sold off. And he quotes the same $48,000 per egg figure. Like, this is a gold mine. And he uses the word gold mine, golden egg in his affidavit a few times.
Oh,
and, like,
of course.
So, like, the people donating to your Give-Send-Go, your e-transfers, your GoFundMe, and all that other stuff. So are you guys going to be reimbursed in any way for doing this?
Well, no, because they need funds sent to them, okay? Alex, they're broke.
Yeah.
They need the Freedom people to send them money.
Yeah. And like, okay, so if your eggs are worth $48,000 each, you just sell 5 or 6, and you could already have more money than your whole fundraising campaign is raised.
Maybe they're locked in on something where they're not allowed to do it because of whatever. I don't know. All I know is that we've definitely been lied to. What I would like to come and figure out is, but between all 4 of us, how is there a way we can try and because it's like COVID, right? The mentality is the same. People are like, zero focused in, and you can't really get to them. Is there a way to broach this conversation without making every single person an enemy? Like, is there a way to do this? I know, Dave, you've been getting attacked. I'm sure, Alex, you've been getting attacked. I had a few smart asses today on Facebook. I just laughed them off and whatever. But there has to be a way. I just, because there are some good people who've just been sucked in again. I'd like to try and fix it.
How did you convince people not to get vaccinated and not to wear the masks when they were fully bought in?
You didn't. I know, and I hate that. It's just like losing a whole other chunk of people.
This is how social engineering works.
Yeah.
This is once they're committed to that, trying to get, even if you actually have a rational conversation with them and you get through to them and they agree with you, and you probably did that in 2020 with people wearing masks. And then the next morning you woke up and you spoke to them and it was like you'd never had a conversation with them. They're back on the same. I describe it as with the messaging, because don't forget that every single feed that we look at, and I've been lecturing about this for more than a decade, every single thing we look at on social media is not driven by public interest. It's driven by the people that control the algorithm.
Yes.
And it's not an algorithm that is fair and it just picks out what's the most common. They are micro-targeting. They've been doing it, started back in large scale back in the Obama campaign with a guy called Christopher Wiley out of BC. He actually was the one who blew the whistle when they caught them in 2016 on the Cambridge Analytica thing.
I was just going to say Cambridge Analytica with the elections.
Christopher Wiley blew the whistle on that because he knew they were coming for him. He's the one who worked on the Obama campaign with the micro-targeting through social media to actually move the needle. That has got to a level now, and this was the reason I went out to Microsoft, was to talk about how they can actually now micro-target at an individual level. Your feed is through things called digital fingerprinting on the, like, if my wife uses my phone on Facebook with my account, Facebook knows when she's got hold of the phone versus when I've got hold of the phone.
Yes.
That technology has been available for about 8 or 9 years now.
That's crazy.
Just by the accelerometers, the actual data they get back is put together in what I call your digital fingerprint. And by using that, they can target the messaging. They know what mood you're in, what messaging works. And that's how you can't have a rational conversation with these people, because they literally have what I call their daily scheduled programming. And it sounds crazy, but this is like, this has been something that is open discussion in the privacy and digital and social engineering sciences for decades. It's not new. It's not a conspiracy. They literally they decide what you're going to buy. They decide, and it's all framed around, well, it's mainly about marketing. Well, what is this farm? It's just marketing. What was COVID? COVID was a marketing campaign with a deadly outcome. That's all it was.
Well, there was a video, and I keep saying it, and I'm going to send it to you, Dave, because I feel like your brain will be able to pick it apart, because my brain just shut off after about 40 minutes of watching it. It was Theresa Tam. There was a leaked, she had a what do they call it? A Zoom meeting with all the other health people involved, and different levels of health ministers and like the people who do public awareness and whatever. They were all in on this meeting, every province, and they were talking about the bird flu, and they were talking about what they were doing, their plans were, the propaganda. That's what I picked up on was, okay, you're planning for propaganda, because it was very not, it was like you were listening to them literally choreographing a show. So I tried to stay in, but I mean, it was very dry. It was very hard for me. I'm very like, my attention span's that big. But the one person I did notice was the health minister in Quebec. He got really irritated, and he's like, I don't even know why I'm at here. This won't even bother us. And he left that meeting. Like he wanted nothing to do with it. So, but BC was all over it. Everybody from BC was involved in this conversation, and it went on. I think this video is like 3 hours long, but I think that if this was last May, this meeting came out, I feel like there's probably information in this meeting that you guys would pick up on that I haven't picked up on, obviously, if you can get through it. Where we're seeing, I don't know, maybe the farms mentioned. I have no idea. I haven't rewatched it, but I will send you the link later. But it was very, very, very choreographed. It wasn't an organic situation that was about to happen.
No, and that's the question I have about this particular farm. Why was it this particular farm that blew up like this? Because there's been countless other farms of other animals, chickens, ducks, geese, that the Food Inspection Agency has come in, tested for the avian flu, found it in a few animals, and raised the farm to the ground. But we haven't heard of any of it unless you go digging for it, then you can find it. Why is this farm first was pushed out to the freedom community because it's a big conspiracy that the big bad government is shutting down our food supply and you could be next. Then it went out a little bit to the Viva Fries and the kind of mid-level independent media, which aren't really independent.
Odessa.
Then
Yeah,
then it came out. Now the CBC is doing stories on it that seem very sympathetic to the farm.
Yeah,
So
14 million birds
Yes.
have been euthanized in this way in
Yep.
farms, which have devastated much larger businesses since
Yes.
2021.
Yep.
And not a word. And if you go over to the UK, that 14 million number is dwarfed. Right now, you're not allowed to have a bird, any
Yes.
bird, that is in an uncovered environment.
Yes.
We actually have a friend who runs a rescue, effectively, farm for sheep and birds and everything. And she's had to revamp the whole place at her own cost. There's no big freedom fighters going there because they're not allowed to come in contact with other animals. And so they literally are wiping it out. I don't agree with that behavior, but that is a reality. And as you say, what are the odds on that many millions and millions or hundreds of millions, when you look at the UK, of animals being euthanized without anybody doing anything? And then this one that just happens to be involved in the government and COVID research is the one that the freedom movement is defending. I mean, there's, as I say, if we were back in 2021 or 2020 and the freedom movement found that this farm was actively working with the government to create COVID-infused masks, they'd have probably burnt the place to the ground. And now they are literally defending them with their children's lives. It's insane.
Yeah. It's not a petting zoo. Don't bring your kids there. And anybody who I encourage to go, don't go. Alex just sent me a message. Her website, everything's up. Her website's up. She does want to talk quick about some of the court stuff that she's discovered. So the floor is all yours, Alex.
Well, they've sent a few affidavits, and these affidavits are about roughly 100 to 150 pages each. Oh. It's rather convoluted, the idea. Wow. Well, they object to, we had like PCR and whatever testing say that some of these birds tested positive for H5N1, whatever it is. Uh-huh. It's kind of funny because they ask for donations from people who think, PCR is complete crap. We can't be used for COVID. But they don't really see the disconnect here. It's, if your various testing methods are garbage and useless for one thing, would they not also be useless and garbage for all of them?
Yes.
Either a PCR test works or it doesn't. So, and our farm is used to synthesize or to create antibodies, which we're going to eventually use for a mask that glows when you're near someone. Okay, but the technology used to create such a thing is very similar to the stuff that you'd be arguing is completely defective and why your farm shouldn't be shut down. Uh-huh. Like the mental gymnastics involved. It works in this instance, but it does not work in this instance.
Right.
And yeah, I keep going back to the money. It's like when you finally admit, and it's in their affidavits. Like Dave and I aren't speculating on it. They openly say it's like, we think each ostrich egg is going to be worth nearly 50,000 if it's properly, if it's healthy and prepared and all that. Okay, but what are you doing asking people for money then? Like, are you making
that makes me
equity
mad.
Partners? I'm like,
the other thing is that, are they worth $48,000 for what virus, what antigen? If you've been in, because they haven't been rolling one bird in and saying, okay, you're the avian flu bird. And you're the COVID bird, and you're in your own pen, completely isolated from all the other birds. These birds have been systematically injected for 5.5 years. That has been their
with everything.
We don't. I mean, the researcher they're working with has been working on inoculate. They say inoculating. I mean, they in their press release they go through the mental gymnastics of using all the big pharma keywords to say they're not vaccinations, they're inoculations. And it's like, really, you're playing that game?
No,
it's
no,
like,
they're not vaccinations. They're therapeutics. There's a difference. They're
Yeah, it's
therapeutics.
like I was
well,
reading
no,
a
but
little
they
bit.
create therapeutics. They
Yeah.
create therapeutics, but they're saying they're inoculating them, and then they're injecting them, and then they're whatever. But the point is that they say that they've been working with this researcher. This researcher in Japan works with a company called one of his companies is Oxygen, which is where they talk about what viruses he's worked with: avian flu, MERS, SARS, influenza A, and COVID, among other things. Like
I'm
I know,
sure.
and Ebola.
Oh,
yeah,
that's
no.
great. Could you
So
imagine if that was at the farm, though? Like,
now
we've got
you've
the
got
fucking people there.
now. Bear in mind, these are highly trained, level 4 biolab trained technicians that are working with these animals, and obviously also vets as well, working in their full. No, they're not.
So let's bring the kids.
They're injecting these birds. Now, even if they were injecting individual ones and saying, you're the Ebola bird and you're the
Yeah.
thing, we're going to get cross-contamination. That's just
Of
going to happen.
course. We learned all about it
based
for the
on
last
this-
4 years.
Because if we don't get cross-contamination, research they're doing is a waste of time. Like their whole premise of what they're doing is based on these are infectious diseases that can be easily passed from one thing to another. That is the whole premise of their experimentation. Otherwise, there's no point. I mean, if you can't pass it on, then why are you even doing it? So let's say even if they were doing it to individual birds and not to the same one, the likelihood is they've cross-contaminated each other.
Yeah.
How do they extract the Ebola antigen as opposed to the COVID antigen from this $48,000 egg? I mean, obviously, that's going to take some very sophisticated technology to do that. And again, now if you actually find out you're buying an egg with all these antigens in it, but it's basically a soup of multiple different viruses. Would you want that? No. I mean, basically, the farmers. So when they create the antigens, pull the antigens out and put it in a mask. Are you sure that was the COVID antigen you got? Or maybe it was the Ebola one. Well, you'll know the difference because you'll start bleeding from the eyes. I mean,
holy shit.
Or the other end.
This is what
But the thing is, these people are out there right now. There are people that we do know. I know a couple people that I really like that are definitely right in there, and they could for all intents and purposes. Could you imagine if they took out the freedomers that way? Like, let's just say, I'm being imaginative now.
Well, the
but
reality
all the people go up there, they could get sick.
Taking them at their word as they filed into court and as they've put forward in their press release, they are handling pathogens that are covered in the Canadian Safety Handbook as level 3 biohazards.
Yes.
That's what they're dealing with. And I mean, I ironically, I got into this with the Gary Davidson report here, which is just full of nonsense. Because they were saying that we've already implemented for SARS in schools and hospitals, the level 3 biosafety. And it's like, no, do you understand the double doors and the hazmat suits and everything else that you have to be for that? This farm, this open air farm on a flight path for migratory birds.
And the woman said it herself. She said it was the ducks.
Doing tours in 2020 on their website, you can actually, but in fact, actually, it was on the pet food one. They actually have a button to book a tour in 2020 during the pandemic of the ostrich farm. And it's
come
like,
and see how dog food's made. Meet your meal.
Maybe the lab leak was because of the tours they were running of the biolab in Wuhan.
No, but it could be. That's the thing.
I have a question about that. So back when the Wuhan lab leak theory started, and we were all crazy talking about it, there was a connection between the lab that's in Winnipeg, between Wuhan, and right before the release, all of the Chinese nationals that were working at the lab in Winnipeg were all exported with cases of whatever they were working on. back to Wuhan, and then everything started happening. Now, my question is, was this a part of that? Is that where the Canadian government was getting this
Uh,
synthetic
I,
antigen?
I mean, if they even had anything, I mean, the reality is nobody knows what it was. Again, the only person that the freedom movement is the only place I've heard somebody say out and out they personally isolated the virus, and that's David Speecher, one of the co-authors of the Daniel Smith's Gary Davidson report,
Right.
main speaker at the Injection of Truth twice. He's got a bit of a stutter. It's hard to listen to him, but I've clipped the part which everybody seems to have missed in that event, where he says at the beginning of 2020, he personally and his team isolated the COVID virus. Now, even the Japanese scientist, the way he's created his spike protein is by taking the printout that the Chinese government produced of here's the genetic sequence of COVID, and then they, using technology similar to CRISPR, they assembled a synthetic virus to match that genetic, that genome, and that's what they're injecting in things. And that's what I understand the Canadian government's been working in, is basically something that was printed and then assembled. I mean, like whatever it was getting people sick in early flu season of 2019 and 2020, that they decided to call COVID. I mean, we had a bad, as in lots of people getting sick, nobody dying, very low mortality season until we locked down, and then the death numbers go through the roof. But where was that sort of that out in the wild strain of whatever it was, whatever the coronavirus, whatever, most people didn't die of it anyway, but that is the same as is being injected into these animals. What's being injected into these animals is clearly a synthetic. And the farm says it's safe because it's dead. Well, there's no such thing. There's no difference between a live and dead RNA virus, first of all.
Well,
They don't.
viruses aren't alive or dead.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, it's a stupid statement to make. But were they told that by some science? I don't know. But the point is, where was the testing? Like, they were doing this in 2020. Somebody created in a lab a synthetic version of what people were talking about as the most deadly zoonotic virus the world had ever seen. And what do? Inject it into animals. They take a human virus that has come from an animal, already done that one jump. They've manufactured some synthetic version of it, and now we're going to inject it into animals without any controls whatsoever in the middle of a pandemic. Like, that's the sort of stuff of horror movies. How did it happen? That can only happen with the Canadian government being a part of that.
Well, and that's why they're so freaked out, and they're like, no, we're actually going to have to kill these birds. But I also think at this point, why isn't the government coming out and being like, mind you, most of these people wouldn't listen to that anyways if the government said it. But they should come out and say why they're concerned, what they're actually concerned about, because they're not really being very clear.
And the beauty about, if ever you've worked in government, the beauty about the CFAA is they don't have to know anything about it.
Oh, okay.
They don't have to be a part of anything. They have a standard operating procedure. They've already killed 14 million birds in the country. They get a call. Somebody says, we've got there's some dead birds on that farm. They come out and test them. They find that they've got this virus. That means, what is their standard operating procedure at this point? You kill the flock. That is it. Right. And that's a worldwide standard that's been in place for a very, very, very long time. It's not just a new COVID thing. It's not a 2024 thing. That has been the standard practice worldwide. So they're coming in and they are probably, the officers that are on the ground from the CFAA are probably wondering to themselves, what in the hell is going on? We've been to so many farms. What's the big deal? That's where their heads are at, is because we've been doing this for years. Nobody's ever bothered. We've been going around the country for the last few years and we've been killing millions and nobody says a word. And then suddenly we get to this farm and they won't look at, I mean, just like you haven't looked at it, They have
Yeah.
no reason whatsoever to look outside their box. Their box is, what
To
was
get
the
an order.
report? And I mean, I'm dealing with this right now with a number of government agencies over care homes. It's like, I've got a pattern of events that are happening that are causing harm to residents. And they said, oh, we can only look at this one on its own. I said, yeah, but there's a pattern here. No, we can just look. You have to make another complaint for the other one. I said, but it's the same thing. No. And we can't deal with it until somebody dies.
Right.
Because there's
course,
got to be something.
bureaucracy.
It's like, okay, we're not. So the Protection of Persons in Care Act is only for after they've been harmed,
Yes.
not to stop
It's
it.
the same with foster kids. They do it with the with
so
kids in
it's-
care too.
And so, yeah, that
They
gets on me
do.
onto the Henry.
I know.
But
I
the
know.
reality is, just like a lot of COVID, it was very easy to put steps in place without a lot of people knowing what was going on, because we have so many standard operating procedures, and particularly the more educated people get, the easier it is to get them to follow orders. They don't question authority. If someone in authority sends them it, so all the hospitals, the nurses weren't trying to kill people.
Right.
They were killing people.
That
And
was
care homes,
bold.
they were killing people, but they weren't
Right.
doing it deliberately because they thought, we didn't suddenly develop in 2020 a planet full of serial killers.
Psychopaths. No.
Yeah, no. They would just they thought it was like, you need to do this or people will die. But people will die when you do it as well. So, but don't worry about that. More would die if you didn't. And that's how this has worked. Like, I guarantee for a fact, the on-the-ground CFIA officers their pay grade is not enough for them to have a clue what's going on in reality.
Right.
And they don't care. They literally don't care. Well, I mean, and they're getting pushed back. And then the court case says, we want to keep these because they're valuable birds.
Well, she
for
does. She does
research.
say that. She
For
says,
research.
and she says her first 4 minutes. I clipped 4 minutes of her 11-minute video. This is the is her name Karen or Chris?
Yes.
No,
Is it?
Christine or something.
Yeah, it's the daughter who does.
The daughter.
The daughter
Okay, yeah.
seems to be doing all the press releases.
Well, that's because she's got the face of her. Like she's quite attractive. But so she came out and she spent 4 minutes out of the 11 minutes, 4.5 minutes. She talked about the income for two people. These are all the challenges, but the income was basically the first thing. Our livelihood of two people and the history of our farm, because this is how we've made money for generations. And I got to 4 minutes and I was like, are you fucking kidding? You haven't said anything about like my bond with these birds or, whatever. We're all trying to like throw our own feelings onto it and be like, oh my God, she didn't. She had a few like crying moments. And I want to say, like, we watch a lot of true crime here on this show, and we analyze the parents. It's usually the parents, their behaviors. It was just like that. It was like watching that, and I was watching it. I'm like, Kate, you're crying with no tears. How do you do that?
35 years, no problem at all, slaughtering these animals on a daily basis, and now suddenly they're worth money. You're suddenly so attached to them. No,
well, 6 minutes in, she did say, oh, she loved the animals, but it took her 6 minutes. If you are passionate and your priority is the preservation of these animals, like as in just them being beings, that would be your first thing.
Ostrich burgers and dog food is not the business you get into if you care for animals.
No,
just not that business.
No, and it's just like when your dog gets parvo or gets rabies or something like that. And so you know that you have to euthanize that animal, but all you do is, and I've had to put down a dog with cancer. All you do is cry.
Oh, it's horrible. Yeah, you don't. You're devastated.
You're devastated. You don't think about how much money,
you
the
spent
dog
on them.
or how much that, orthopedic dog bed cost. Oh my God, it was $500. You don't talk about that. You talk about your dog and your pet, the animal that you loved, that you know what's best for it is actually to put it down. And maybe that's the best thing for these birds, is for them to be euthanized.
For them, they're commodities. They're not animals.
Yeah.
They're commodities that are valuable.
Yeah.
That's it.
Alex.
Alex has done a lot of work on that.
Yeah, I didn't watch that one interview. Did she say what's going to happen after all the various testing and whatnot is done? Like eventually, I mean, the birds are infected, obviously you can't sell them as meat or whatever. You can't just keep them indefinitely. So what's the deal? Like when they've outlived their usefulness, can't produce more eggs, they're aging, whatever. Like what's the end goal?
She hasn't said that. She said basically anything that you have questions for, we can talk about after they save the birds. We can regroup and talk about all the things we have questions about after. That's literally what she said.
Everyone I've seen who's asked a hard question has been shut down.
Dave
by one of their pit dogs. By one of their pit dogs, they just get attacked. You're not actually allowed. And there are people saying who are there at the farm that the instant they asked a question that wasn't allowed, they were kicked off the island.
Well, there was a question here in chat that maybe you guys will know about the people having to sign consent forms for being there.
Yeah,
and then people getting blood drawn.
What the fuck?
When they were there. And I heard this as well. I don't know where it comes from. But yeah, unconfirmed rumor, 10 people had blood drawn there by a lab tech. And so one person refused to sign the non-disclosure and get their blood drawn. But it's a rumor, right? Rumors are flying.
If that's true, somebody needs to come on the stream and tell us, because that needs to be told.
All I can say is I just put up a post before we went live. People keep saying to me, why won't you talk to them? Why won't you drive out there to BC? Well, Karen and this Japanese professor have a business in Calgary.
Right.
I don't remember them turning up to the rallies that I was at every single week for most of the last 5 years, trying to save the children and the people in care homes and the people and the businesses and everything. I don't remember her. Oh, why was that? Well, that was because she was experimenting with COVID viruses, trying to make
she's making bank on it.
I was in court fighting for care workers and children, trying to get an injunction to stop the rollout, which I funded. And what was she doing at the same time? I mean, and I was trying to get them to stop the masks on children. And she was trying to create a mask that, like, I was terrified that people were wearing the masks they were, because I understand the OHS stuff and the harm it can do, particularly when you don't know what you're doing. But the idea of putting a pathogen-laced from a zoonotic virus that has now gone through an ostrich, so it's now on its third stage, that has never been tested. I mean, they can say, what were where are the tests? Can we see the placebo, the double-blind placebo studies of these antibodies in masks and nasal sprays? Can we just see that, Karen? Because you're so invested in it and you've been producing it with this professor. Can we see all those studies which show that it cures COVID and it can test for COVID? Because the funny thing is, everybody who's at that farm has asked that question about every government test, every government treatment, remdesivir, everything else. But nobody's asking that question about her. They're just saying, "Oh no, this is going to eradicate the farming industry. Oh, sorry, the bio industry, by replacing it with another bio industry that seems to have done even less testing, and wants to, like, I mean, let's make sure we understand that the way they're going to save you from COVID is by forcing you to wear a mask for at least 8 hours a day. That's infused with antigens from an ostrich. That sounds
Alex.
so same.
Yes.
Sorry, Alex. What were you saying though before? Because I totally had what you were starting to say, and then I lost it.
Oh,
I'm sorry, Alex.
Yeah, no way. Well, I'm reminded of what David just saying. It's like, in a sense, they actually are creating the same, more or less the same grounds for testing. But yet the people on quote unquote our side aren't asking the same questions that they would have been demanding of any government officials. Like, it's something I notice in general. It doesn't really matter what you do, like what corners you cut, what shortcuts you do, how logical your arguments are. As long as you're on our side, none of that really matters. Yeah. I mean, even beyond this whole testing thing, like in 2020, I found the whole thing. Okay, well, we're all on the side of free speech and free expression. But we had people in the so-called freedom movement suing each other because, you know what, you said stuff online I didn't like.
Yeah.
It's like okay, dude, if you support freedom, you can't be doing lawfare on people. Same sort of idea here. If we demand government accountability, before you do some kind of mandatory or anything, just because it's farmed out to a private company who's working with another company who got, was it $13 million grant, that's not really too far removed, but we don't ask anywhere near the same questions.
Right.
So
It reminds me of conversations I've had with liberals. I don't know whether there's any liberals even watching this, but and I actually sat and had a discussion, tried to have a logical discussion with a liberal person, and she turned around to me and said, "I'm sorry, but your facts will never change my feelings." And that's where we're at. Everybody everybody supporting that farm is running 100% on feelings.
Yeah.
Well, they are, because it does feel like
and
if
there
you
isn't
say
a single fact that is going to change their mind.
What's like, what do you hate ostriches?
you want
You
them to
want
die,
ostriches to die?
no, God, no. I
But
also don't want
I've
them
heard
to be
that argument
poisoned.
before. Except for it was about grandma. If you didn't want to wear a mask.
Yeah,
Grandma's
grandma's gonna die.
I'm thinking, like, I'm not sure how accessible it would be because a lot of this would be private, but at this point, I'm wanting to FOIA the heck out of everything and just get whatever I can and publish it. Like,
I think you should do it.
Yeah. But as I know, there's going to be objections. Oh, this is our intellectual property. This is our trademark. This is protected business material. It's like, at the same time, it's not.
It's a PIPA request for that, isn't it? Out in BC, because they're a business. I mean, I'm assuming they're a registered business. I know they're listed as registered businesses. Yeah. They're not government entities, but they should still be producing that information. The reality is, I mean, and Canuck knows because of what she's produced and read, and what I have, they've already hang themselves with their own petard. There is literally nothing they can say that could change the facts that are already out there. The facts that are out there are they have confirmed, working through a third party, the Canadian government, to inject these birds with a synthetic COVID virus and other viruses, which has allowed them to continue full operations. I'm pretty sure these birds are not cheap to keep. What have they been? What has kept them running for 5.5 years with such an operation?
Do they have any businesses on the side bringing in extra income? That would be nice to know.
Well, they had the dog food stuff. They've got the bio company. They've got the. I mean, we know about the contract with the Quebec company. What's the contract with the Japanese researcher? Because they were asked, and I posted that, is, people were saying they've got no connection to that researcher or the Kyoto, and it's like, well, it says they do in the document, because their argument to say these are valuable genetic things is based on you having a contract with them. And so you were asked to produce those documents, and in the affidavit you produce those documents that say you have an agreement with this university and this Japanese professor who's working with the World Economic Forum on glowing masks. How much money is that worth? Like, there's something has kept this operation running for 5.5 years.
Well, there is also the one key word that she continuously says during pretty much every interview I've seen, and every time I hear it, I'm like, oh fuck, it's an alarm. Why are people getting checking into it? She says sustainable. She's using a lot of World Economic Forum catchphrases, and I'm like sitting there when I was watching today, I'm like, for fuck's sakes, guys, literally, it's. I don't understand it. I'm blown away, honestly, just at how brilliant this was and how many people they've now just sucked out of our realm.
Well, reading that Facebook post, the one that you shared a little while ago, I mean, I've I watch things when companies try to admit, like, hey guys, we weren't doing bad stuff.
Right.
The whole post to me in context reads as massive damage control. There's
This is
simply
the
too much.
press release, right?
Yes. The one on Facebook. Like, there's simply too much proof to deny everything altogether. So the next best option is to put a mostly positive spin on things. Hey, it's not really as bad as you think.
Right.
There's one tiny little piece right in the middle of that, buried in that statement, that thing, where they say, if you want the facts, you need to go to our website because we're the only ones with the facts. And anybody who says anything else, that's defamation and could cause us harm. Okay, so
that reminds me of Donald Best. I just have to say that.
You've got a threat in the middle of it. And what you've said is, like the government, if you want to know the truth, we're the source of truth. Well, actually, no, the court records are the source of truth because otherwise you committed perjury. And the court records say what they say. I mean, you can put out any statements you want. The court records say what the court record is.
We do have a person that Conster is here defending the farm, which is fine. Welcome. I mean, I hope you can get your mind blown now, because I promise we would not have had David or Alex on if they didn't have their facts straight. I've been talking with them for a couple days now. They've been giving me their backup. They have receipts. And Alex, you have it all posted on your website, yes?
Well, not all. It's a lot, but a good chunk of it so far.
So I invite you to look in the description of where the feed is, wherever you're watching this, whether it's Facebook or Rumble. Find the website, fill your boots, get as much information as you can, and then you're welcome to come back and say they're lying.
So here's that. It was from that Zoom meeting or something. So this was posted in North Shore News. I think this was from 2022. When they're talking about how, I don't know why the farm was in danger, but it lists the owners there, and they're talking about, it turns out ostriches have strong immune systems. When exposed to COVID-19, they quickly create antibodies. Working with a lab back east, we inoculated our hens with dead COVID-19 virus. The hen produces antibodies in 2 weeks, and 2 weeks after that, she puts them into her eggs. So that's what we were talking about when we did the original stream, was the serums that they make from the yolks of the eggs for COVID. This is a very natural process. Last year, we were able to block 99.9% of the coronavirus if it was infused in a face mask. This is what David is talking about. For various reasons, the face mask was never mass produced, but a different company began testing. What was that different company? And they discovered the birds could be keys to neutralizing COVID-19 completely. Later on in this article, they go on and talk about the nasal sprays and everything. So this is where the actual owners are telling us that they were working with the ostriches and COVID-19. It's right there in black and white.
In what year did they it was in 2020, right? Where Conster says there weren't.
So paragraph 26. Paragraph 26 of the final decision says, from approximately 2020 onward, the applicant shifted its primary commercial focus to extracting and studying antibodies, notably immunoglobulin, etc. For the applicant, these antibodies have lucrative commercial and research values, especially in the development of diagnostics or therapeutics relevant to human viruses such as COVID-19 causing virus SARS-CoV-2. That's in the judge's summation of their evidence, where they started this in 2020.
Yes.
Okay, and that is is that on your Twitter or on your website, Dave?
It's on my Twitter, but it's actually in the court documents that Alex has got put up.
Okay.
I've got it linked on my Twitter account, but I've actually got a post specifically that quotes that paragraph. And people should go. They shouldn't trust my Twitter account. You should go to the court filing, and don't even necessarily go to Alex's copy of it. Go to the copy that the farmers posted on their website. This document is on their website. Go to paragraph 26 and read what it says about 2020. And it ends with, Despite this strategic shift, some level of ostrich sales, along with sales or planned sales of products derived from ostrich fat and eggshells, continued through to at least December 2024.
And Canuck Law just shared that in our chat with links that goes to the actual PDF that was the justice's ruling.
And that's what I love about YouTube, by the way, David and Alex. And I've said it before through other things, other court stuff that you guys follow. I just love it. I love it that you guys follow it. I didn't even know how to describe you guys. I'm like, because you're kind of legal analysts. I feel like that's a fair enough description. And researchers. I always just say top brilliant researchers. But you guys always bring receipts. And I love it. I love it. I love it. Even though I don't necessarily understand all of the lingo all the time. I'll sometimes dumb it down in a voice message to Alex, but Dave's now going to get them as well. And I'll just ask, hey, listen, I don't know what that word means or whatever. And they do explain it. And I do appreciate it. And I encourage everybody to, if you're ever curious about something, check it out. With these guys, they're so smart.
Oh yeah, Alex's website is a wealth of information, and she comes with all the receipts. She does do a brief synopsis of what is contained in the articles. You can go right to the article, right on the website where it was released, whatever jurisdiction that the judge's decision was made in. You go right to it. And
I have to ask. Hold on, I have to ask. I'm seeing in the chat, Dave, is Jason Levine? Please tell me, because my brain will explode actually on stream. Is he involved with this at all?
I have no idea. He blocked me a while back.
Good. High five.
The last time I spoke to Jason Levine, he came over to me at the August 17th, 2024 Devon Town Hall with Daniel Smith, where I was asking hard questions. And he came over to me after he'd been a dick for a long time.
Yeah, he is a dick.
My words to him, he can't quote me. Well, he did. He quoted me on Twitter. I told him to fuck off.
Good for you.
Go away and fuck off. Because he's not. I mean, it's not hard to see he's not what he is, because he was running for the PPP, and now he's the head of the APP, which is part of the UCP.
Oh, and he was an independent for the UPC before that. Like, no, the guy's just a fraudy fuck.
Yeah, no, he is. He says, I'm not best friends with Leighton Gray.
Or Donald Best. Okay, yeah, right.
Yeah, no, he is literally one of the easiest people to work out that he is not what he is. Just like an awful lot of other people. Lawyers in particular.
Who?
Lawyers in particular. It's very easy to see.
Speaking of Leighton Gray, actually, Alex, you were going to come on a stream a couple days ago. We had a stream planned a couple weeks ago. Alex, you discovered some more dirt on Mr. Leighton Gray.
Yeah, he's been one of my latest targets of interest. I found 12 of his Vax Pass cases so far that he's dropped. So far.
Those core clients, 12.
12 cases in Alberta, Manitoba, and the federal courts. And I'm sure there's more.
How does he have a podcast?
Because he's best friends with Daniel Smith. He's best friends with Dennis Modry, and the back end of that. But he's so a number of his clients, and some of them at the time were current clients of these cases that have been dropped, and some that he didn't. Like the TDF, the Democracy Fund debacle, where he was overbilling by hundreds of thousands of dollars and got taxed. Right. And they took the money back off him. Now, the funny thing is he kept the money from the clients, but the reason that they court awarded the Democracy Fund get their money back was because he double billed. So the courts ordered the Democracy Fund be fully reimbursed because he was also billing out his paralegals at his full $700 an hour rate. Now, some of those clients, what he did then was he went back to those clients and said, the funding's been pulled, so you either pay me more money or I'm firing you. And he walked away from them and left the case. There's another one, the CN Rail group.
Yes.
They were ready. They were ready to go, and there actually are a number of them. He hasn't just got the one. He came to them, and he had been charging them $3.50 an hour because he was double billing with other, with the JCCF
Right.
and TDF and other places. And he came to them and said, right before the last big step, I've decided that I'm increasing my rate to $700 an hour. He doubled his rate and said, if you don't pay it, I'm firing you. So basically they fired him. There are a bunch of people, a bunch of these groups now that are trying to get together to start a class action lawsuit against him.
Yes, because that's so atrocious.
My advice to them, before you do that, take your story to the Law Society, because the reality is he has committed offences. Under the act, if everything you say is true and everything I found out is true, he's committed offences under the act of the Law Society. He has actually threatened me once. I told him come at me. I welcome it.
He just blocked me.
You know what? If this farm, because of the COVID connection, if you want to come at me, because it will allow me to bring all my COVID evidence into court, and I'll drag everyone around, every single one who's been involved in this. I will drag them into this. And the funny thing is, every time I say that, nobody comes after me. If I'm so wrong, how am I still talking? How's Canuck Law still talking if she's so wrong? Why haven't we been shut down by the government, by all the lawyers?
They just discredit you and poo-poo you away.
Well, I tried.
Well, thing is, no government official has actually threatened to come after me. No premier, no minister, no crown corporation. No one's ever. The only people who actually have threatened to sue me and who actually have are people in the so-called freedom movement.
Which is shocking and sad and ironic and fucked up.
Yeah, I've been blocked by some government officials on Twitter, but in the scheme of things, who cares? No, the only people who've actually threatened to come after me are in the freedom movement.
Well, and
which
they're
is
not
so disappointing, guys.
They're not doing it through the court system. They're doing it through personal attack and.
Some of them go through the court system. Some of them do.
Yeah, the slap lawsuits that they're throwing at people are.
You just have to read them and make sure Canuck Law goes through them, and then just be dismissed because they were worded.
Oh well, Donald Best threatened to sue us. He was very serious. He made a very big announcement threatening the Real Housewives of Alberta.
If he did sue you, he would have to provide all his actual details.
Exactly, he knows that. That's why I won't. I said do it.
Well, the last people who've even suggested coming after me, the names are probably familiar. Sean Rickard and Carl Harrison, because I covered their cases. Basically, the grift with them and with the travel mandates in general, they will appeal the rulings rather than just amend them.
Yeah, we talked about that on the show.
Yeah, it's like when a judge says, just file your papers this way and you're good to go. What kind of idiot would turn around and appeal it? That's the craft.
James Kitchen in a Zoom call when I was dealing with him and the JCCF and calling them out, and in that Zoom call he described exactly what has been happening, as that was the plan of the freedom movement lawyers, was to lose cases, appeal them, keep grifting on the money, and eventually the people would become so disillusioned with the court system they would rise up like sovereign citizens. I mean, like this farm, it's like they're grifting off people's misery and suffering, because that's all I can describe. If you were actually trying to make money out of COVID masks, then you were grifting off people's misery, because the reality is that's what it was. And the lawyers are doing the same thing.
I do want to repeat. I'm sorry, Measure Schmidt, I'm putting you on blast here, but he said something in a comment. I did say this last night about the freedom groups and the birds, and it was so smart. And I was like, I screenshotted it. I do want to really quickly recap it. Somebody had said, why are all these people falling for it and just jumping on board? Everybody from the freedom movement. And Measure Schmidt had said, same reason the Jews find anti-Semitism in everything. They've built a tribal identity around persecution and will go to any length, however ridiculous, to keep their tribe alive. These were disaffected, broken people to begin with, and you can't blame them for not wanting to be alone. It's sad. I do think that's true. I do think that a lot of people got lost after COVID because that was the focus for so long, and that was what got us new friends or whatever, right? We'd gone through a lot of trauma there. They need a focus. right? They did the tax thing for a few months there.
Well,
And
there
now
was
it's the bird farm.
the convoy happened, right? Which
Right.
was huge.
Right. But that
Um,
was, yeah, it was hard for people to let it go.
It was an organic thing that happened, I do believe, that turned into an insane grift that was stomped out. But the feelings people had about what the convoy did, they tried to reenact it the next year with Convoy 2.0. There was a bunch of them that were driving around and drinking at the
Actually,
side of the road.
Jim Kerr, the guy that's at the farm right now, that's the big sort of the, I guess, the face of the farm, like
The face of the
on
farm.
media.
Yep.
He's the one that was one of the organizers from the second convoy plan.
Yep.
I just want to point out that nobody's saying that they got money from the grant. Nobody's saying that.
People are asking where the money was that kept them alive for the last 5.5 years. If they didn't get that money, what was their income?
Yeah, was it selling eggs? It's fine.
Like,
Just say.
Again, no, it wasn't selling eggs because they were experimenting. They've filed into court that they've said specifically into court what their primary business was for the last 5.5 years, experimenting on these birds. So where was the money coming from? If they didn't get that 13 million, nobody's saying they did. I've got no evidence to say they didn't get it. But if they didn't get that money, what did they survive on? These ostriches don't live on fresh air. And they as a family don't. I don't look at them as living out of a cardboard box right now without, I mean, were they ridiculously rich at the end of 2019, so could afford to run this farm without making a single penny? In which case,
can you guys not do can you not request information on the finances of a company? Like, is that not open information?
If it's private, it's much harder, harder to get.
Okay.
But I'm thinking about the same thing. Where does the money come from? Now, this is speculation, but if there is some employer who wants, oh, hey, we're going to do all this testing. You know what? You do your testing for the next 3, 4, 5 years, whatever. We're going to pay you $50,000 a month, a salary or whatever, however you want to structure it. We'll pay you $50,000 a month, do the testing and report back to us. So maybe they've just been on someone's salary or payroll the whole time and just not disclosed it.
Well, it's fine. Do your thing, but stop asking for donations, please. You do not need them. We now know that. That's fucking mean. It's mean because people who have nothing are giving it. They are because people who have nothing give.
Yeah, and if there is some employer who's wants you to paying you to do the test because they want the results, okay, well get your employer to stop.
Sorry, Alex. David has shown his receipts. They're on his thing. Alex here, who's speaking, that we interrupted again, has a receipt. So where did they get their money? How about instead of challenging him to prove something, why don't you prove where they got the money? How about that? Sorry, go ahead, Alex. I apologize.
Yeah. Like if there is someone who wants, hey, we want these results, we want to do our research. Essentially, the farm workers would be, for lack of a better term, employees or independent contractors, so they can be getting a salary the whole time. But if you're saying, oh, we're suffering economic loss, okay, well, aren't you then required to disclose what you are making?
Right. Well, I think that's fair.
How many businesses went bust during COVID?
Oh gosh.
Countless.
And actually, the COVID is still running. Just in 2020 alone, before vaccines and vax passes and anything else, I was having regular podcasts with restaurants, with gyms, helping them through how to deal with tickets, because I'm an expert in disclosure. So I was helping them how you can actually fight these tickets in the proper way. And everyone I helped, the tickets were ripped up and they walked away because they were terrified of following through. The government knew they couldn't do what they said they were going to do. I mean, if you had a lawyer, you could spend thousands of dollars and lose your ticket. But I mean, there was a way to fight it. How did this company? They all.
Measure Smith's our comedian.
I mean, realistically, I mean, because there is a like that piece you put up, the 2022 piece. it actually references they've got 500 ostriches. But they've only got, there's only 69 that have died, and they've only got 300, and depending on which day it is, either 398 or 399. Because it was like we had 400 and we lost 2, but now we've got 399.
Right.
How did you go from 500 to 399 while only losing 69? My math's relatively good. That one doesn't add up. So I mean, they've declared 6 that they sold to another farm, and they were still running the dog food business. And so were they slaughtering animals and selling them on?
They tried to, is the point.
They tried to.
I think that person just
a failed
dying.
scam is still a scam.
Yes, yeah, it is, and it goes against the people that are defending them.
Yeah, do you know what? CanSino, the Chinese manufacturer with effectively the AstraZeneca vaccine that was working with the Halifax University, which was actually sponsored by the Chinese military, connected to Gavi and everything else. I did a big piece on that right at the beginning of 2020. It was like, what in the hell are we doing working on this? And I was talking to Professor Dolores Cale at the time on the actual technicalities of how these vaccines would work, or more importantly, wouldn't work, and had the harm they do. And CanSino didn't make any money. They didn't sell theirs. The lab in Japan was not the farm. Nobody said it was.
The reason I'm highlighting this person's stuff is because they're trying to sway the chat, and I hate that.
So the lab is the lab is the farm. That is, by definition, they have confirmed they're injecting the birds in the farm. And that means they are handling this synthetic biological material that would be considered a biohazard that should be handled under level 3 biohazard security protocols, and they're injecting them in. That makes them a lab. It makes them an unlicensed lab if they're doing it without going through the proper. And the fact that they've got no trained personnel, because I'm pretty sure in 2020 they weren't taking courses at the local university on how to work in a level 3 biolab. Dolores Cale, who I talked to, sadly she's gone off on the sovereign citizen movement, but as far as her knowledge in this area goes, she ran the level 4 Max Planck biolab in Germany for many years. So I know how these things work. Plus, I've read the biosafety handbook that the Canadian government produced. This farm, based on their own filings into court and their most recent press release, was operating as a biolab without any controls. I do not know how that happened. Okay. And they were trying.
Sorry, this is great. Okay, so they've been producing oils by killing the birds, right? I just want you to be clear about that.
Yeah.
Okay, so what you're saying is they're going to kill the birds anyways. Thank you for answering that. So
about what Conster says, he says, "Oh, Dave is speculating where the income is coming from. He's just stuck to what he knows." Okay, no, that's a valid point. But in the context of them wanting money to fight their court case, if you're asking for public donations, my philosophy is, you're asking for donations for what is essentially public interest litigation. You got to be a little more transparent.
I'm not speculating with where the money's coming from. I'm asking an outright question. Where's the money coming from?
Yeah.
Somebody up here said it was the dog food business. Again, I just want to point out they're killing the ostriches for dog food. So you guys, you keep answering your own questions.
I mean, it's in the court filing. They were still producing oil and selling birds. And how are they getting the oil? You can't wring out a live ostrich and get oil from it. That's just not. I mean, you know what? That would make a great reality show. People get. You know what? I think maybe not the children, but maybe the head protesters, the mouthpieces. If we could have ostrich riding, ostrich wrestling, you know what? I'd pay money for that.
Yeah, I'd pay money to see that. Watch somebody milk an ostrich to get its oil.
Yeah. I don't know. I think you guys. I love you guys for coming on, and I think you guys have a great. I love the people that joined the chat and did try to stick up for the birds, but unfortunately, you guys, you can't tell me that you are fighting to save the lives of birds who are going to be murdered for their oil, for dog food, and be tested on with viruses and pathogens. You can't tell me that that's good. So you guys find a new focus. David brought up something beautiful today. He said, "This is a distraction." I'm like, distraction from what? He sounds like Buck. And then David said it. He said it, and it's brilliant. David, do you want to tell everybody what you figured out?
Yeah, I don't know whether, I mean, there are a lot of things going on right now.
Nah, this has got to be it.
One thing is that is actually going on for the first time in a long time here in Alberta, right next to the Alberta's and one of Canada's only secure nuclear bunkers in Kananaskis Village, is the G7 conference.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's completely unrelated that all the people who would be protesting the G7 conference. It's getting late. The G7 conference right now in Kananaskis are currently driving out to BC. Kellyanne Wolf.
Oh, she's going to go all the way from Ontario. Once I saw Chris Sky got on board, I was like, oh, for fuck's sake.
Somebody said, so you come to the G7 conference? No, I'm going to stop in Alberta and then drive on to BC. But you're not coming to the G7 conference. But your hero, Donald Trump's going to be here. I mean, is he going to fly in and fly out on his helicopter and stay in the Montana farm like the last president did when we had it at Kananaskis? Like the last time they ran it in Kananaskis, the president didn't stay in Kananaskis. He stayed in a farm in Montana. He flew in and flew out every day. They actually had to build a helipad for him. I know the people who actually ran the security and who worked with the Secret Service there at that event. But so it's like this is a huge thing.
That's where we need our efforts.
Leaders, and nobody's going to be there.
Also, because they're at the farm on a bouncy castle.
Yeah, and anybody at the farm mentioned how many kids got a COVID shot last week. Like here in Alberta, under the age of 1, it's 28 a day right now. 28 a day.
They're still getting injected.
But
what really is youth in care. The kids in care have to get it. They have no choice. If you're in government care.
Mickey Amory is the current Justice Minister. He was the Minister of Children's Services during COVID.
Yeah.
When the vaccine came out, his department, which must have been signed off by him, threatened everybody who had a foster child that if they didn't get vaccinated, the child would be taken off them. And that's Danielle.
Everybody. There was group homes. There's tons of group homes in BC. I have friends who work in the services and placements, and I actually stopped talking to them because I'm so upset. I thought, I'm from care too, and I thought, you fucker, are you really you're gonna make these kids? Well, they'll lose their placement. It's not my decision. It's not mine. It's not even the agency's. I'm like,
yeah, you're
gonna do that. You won't do it to your own children at home, but the foster kids, no problem. You're good to go.
And yet, people are going to court right now because somebody said to them, you need to get a vaccine. But they're okay with the ostriches being vaccinated, because essentially that's what it is. You can use different words and say, well, they're inoculated. Are you injecting a virus, synthetic or not, into the body to create an immune response and generate antibodies? That is the very definition of a vaccine. And they go, oh, but it's not got any of the other stuff that's in the mRNA or anything like that. Originally vaccines used to have mineral oil in them. That was it.
Right.
And the virus, that was it. Live or dead. But like what they're injecting, they are vaccinating these birds, but multiple times. I mean, we complain about the kids, how many vaccines they get. Again, how valuable are these eggs really if the buyer finds out how many different viruses are in there, and how do you extract one antibody versus another? What is the cost of doing that? I mean, are they really? Again, we've got there is this assumption, and when you look at the numbers, it's just ridiculous. I mean, like literally, with even if only half of them are hens, so you'd say 200 of them are hens,
Right.
with an egg every 2 days for, let's say, an absolute minimum of 2 months. So 60 days times 2 eggs a day times 200 times $48,000. Yeah, you know what? By the end of a couple of years, they're giving Donald Trump and Elon Musk a run for the money.
Yeah. Don't send your tiny bits of money that you guys work so hard for.
But the reality is, if they cull that herd, they've allegedly got nothing.
So
Well,
with
so have all the other farms. So have all the other farms that are no attention whatsoever.
Yes.
Who are
we
they
all
selling the
want
eggs
things.
to though? Like I want to know. Like we've got this dollar value on these eggs.
Yeah. Who's buying them?
Who is buying the eggs? Who is their major? Like who are they supplying?
Alex can answer because she said it before. Who actually has an interest in what those eggs have got?
Yeah. Alex, who?
No, your Alex. Canuck.
Sorry.
Can answer that question.
Sorry. Try to pull that up. I had an answer. I'm just trying to go back through it.
That's okay.
But it sounds.
Good expert witness.
Oh, Pellich. Oh wait. Oh, Pellich.
The Connect company.
Kinetex, however you pronounce it.
Yeah. Well, because he's actually had 2 companies. One failed, and then he just changed the letters a bit and created another company.
And wasn't he wearing a hat recently in one of the videos? I saw a video about that.
Well,
and he,
I have to laugh because I did a search on Pellich, just curious about the guy. He's part of the COVID Care Alliance, which is, I think, based out of Ontario. He's appeared on like Liberty Talk, What's Up Canada, a few other the Freedom podcasts. It's like he's promoted as he's an expert in the science and health and that. So it's like, but he also has a huge, insurmountable financial interest in seeing this sort of thing go ahead. It's like,
and
it's like,
what's his name again? Sorry,
Pellich, Stephen Pellich, Pelech.
So the website's Kinexus.ca. So KINEXUS.ca, and on there, one of the first sort of right at the beginning of the paragraph, it says Kinexus now offers 2 different Kinex CAM antibody microarray services that utilize complementary antibody microarray chips. So great. He's selling them.
So the obvious conclusion one can draw is like Pellich isn't some neutral, UBC science professor that he's pretending to be. He's got huge financial interest in keeping this going.
Interesting.
Yep.
Wow. Okay. So, well, yeah. No, I mean, I'm not going to apologize, and I mean, I know I'm going to get some pushback. I don't give a shit on Facebook, and if I lose friends, I lose friends. We've already gone through this 4 years ago. I don't care anymore. Okay. Hey, listen. You're just being a little pesty asshole, and I'm actually just going to ask you to stop. I'm not even going to highlight your comments anymore. We've given you enough attention. You want to go ahead and believe this? Go ahead. You want them to kill the birds to get the oil? Go ahead. You want them to be dog food? Go ahead. But I'm going to make sure we can let as many Canadians know that this is a load of shit. But anyways, we should start to wrap this up because it has been almost 2 hours. And I know, David, you've got 100,000 things on the go. So do you, Alex. You've got stuff to research. Holly, you got to do your gardening.
I have to go lock up my chicken.
Yeah. Please go ahead.
Can I make a productive suggestion to everyone who's listening?
Yes.
I know this is going to take a little work. Like, honestly, like not just this case, but just even more broadly, go search a case. They're easy to find online. For the most part, documents are free. Like federal court, for example, is amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just do the email, say or meet a series or whatever, make something up. Ask for some of the court documents yourself and just read for yourself. Don't believe anything I say. Don't believe anything Dave says. Don't believe anything this farm says. Just look at what's actually been filed and read it for yourself. Does this make sense?
Okay, so you say you can email, so anybody can go to like what is it, federalcourt.com?
Yeah.
What is it? And then you just ask. You don't have to pay money and
federal courts are really good one. No, they're free. BC is an online system. It's for somewhat paywalled. Alberta, no offense, Alberta sucks. Everything's paywalled with them.
Right.
Yep.
It's varied by jurisdiction.
The one thing you can get in Alberta is you can get transcripts, and if somebody's already paid for the transcript, you don't have to pay for it. But they don't tell you whether somebody's already got it. So you have to sort of guess, and then they'll bill you up front. You also have to be very, very specific about what case, what time, what courtroom, what it started, when it ended.
Right.
It's an absolute nightmare. I got all the transcripts for my case, which I then published online. And actually, the justice tried to stop me getting access to the transcripts from my own case. And I pushed back and got them. And then the people doing the transcript made a mistake and sent me more than they were supposed to. And then they sent me an email saying, no, could you delete that one? We'll send you another one. I said, you can send me another one, but I ain't deleting that one.
No, that's so good. Yes, Alex.
So, and they're all up online for the case I filed in 2021 for the kids and the healthcare workers. And,
Perfect.
Even beyond like simply ordering like docket transcripts, court filings, whatever. Like honestly, if something doesn't make sense, like you can find a court phone number online. Just give them a call. Like honestly, that was probably one of my biggest achievements in 2020. The whole like vaccine choice, how they're raising like millions for like an application for injunction for masks.
Yes.
I made one phone call to the Toronto court. Oh, guess what? No injunction application existed. They lied about the whole thing. So I published that and got an incredible amount of backlash. Well, guess what? You're donating to non-existent litigation.
Yes,
it's not me you should be pissed at. You should be hanging the VCC people out to dry.
Well, you two are literal whistleblowers. I'm pretty sure Donald Best and Jason Levine would be very jealous of you guys and your achievements. And I appreciate you guys for coming on and filling everybody in. And like I said, everybody go visit them at Twitter and on their websites because seriously, so much information. And they break it down in fairly easy to handle format. So thank you guys. Do you want to say anything before we go? Anybody?
Thank you for having us on.
You're welcome.
Thank you for the invite.
You're so welcome. I love you guys. All right.
Thank you so much for coming on and helping explain this for us because we know where our weaknesses lie, but our strengths are gathering people together who can say what we can't say in a much more eloquent way.
Yeah, exactly. All right, you guys have a very good night, and everybody else, we will see you next Tuesday. Thank you to everybody in the chat, even you, Conster. You pain in the ass, but thank you for coming.
Thanks for
bye.
And just remember on your way out, everybody in the chat, make sure you hit that like on your way out if you did enjoy what you're seeing here.
If you can.
If you can, that would be much appreciated.
If you're unable to, don't worry about it. Yeah. All right, goodbye, guys.
So I'm gonna play us out.
I just started it.
What did
Holly, I did. I hit end stream. Look. Oh, I didn't. Never mind.
No, you didn't. You silly.
Thank God. I thought I did.
So I'm gonna play us out now because we totally boomered this shit out of that.
I did. It's fine.
It's okay. At least it was me.
It wasn't you. It was me.
Okay.
Okay, love you. See you Tuesday.
Yeah, we'll see you next Tuesday, everybody.
See you next time on the back here. See you next time. C-U-N-T. See you next time.